Well, good morning again, and we're in that bright period that was forecast. There are puffy white clouds around, but it's generally speaking a very pleasant day out there. A little bit of a breeze, hanging baskets in front of me. The black horse are gently moving, not untoward. People are walking around. I was going to say half naked. I don't mean in casual clothes, not burdened down by too many heavy coats, and it certainly is not raining. So there you are. Now it's a polling day. It's voting day. We urge you, vote. You may not vote the way that I would vote, or me vote the way that you vote. But the most important thing in this democratic society is for us to exercise our vote. You know, people say, no, my vote doesn't make any difference. Your vote does make a difference. But you know, because I've been a traveling journalist, I've actually been denied the vote. You know, when you are a long way away, it is possible to get a postal vote from way overseas, but it's very complicated. So you feel disenfranchised. You feel as if you're not having any sort of say on the governance of the country. And it's not a nice feeling. And yet, quite often, a good 30% of us, because normally the national vote turnout is around 70% in our area. What will it be this time? Who knows? All we can do is to urge you to vote. And I hope that you will exercise your democratic privilege, if you like, democratic right, because it was fought for here in this town in the Battle of Lewis in 1264 actually. So it's quite important, particularly for us, to maintain tradition as well as doing the sensible and right thing. There we go. There we go. Well, as I said, John Henty should be here in about 3/4 of an hour, thereabouts. I think that Philip Meredith is lurking somewhere too, so he may pop a nose in. In the meantime, we've got something here called the cooking show. And I have no idea what it is. So I'm going to just take a chance and start it. I can always get rid of it if it turns out to be one of those embarrassing things that we shouldn't have in our archives. Let's take a look.
Hello, Catherine.
Hello, Sybil.
Oh,
hello, everybody.
Darling, this is so good of you to come here today.
Oh.
For the viewers out there, thank you for tuning in. Let me explain a little bit. We are today, Catherine and myself, in the home of Mr. and Mrs. Linda and William Page, their lovely home. They've allowed us to come in and use their kitchen. And what we're going to do today is, Catherine's going to do it. She's going to make a lemon sponge cake. Now, I haven't got the faintest idea how to make a cake, so I'm in for an education. Off we go.
Hello everybody, I'm going to do a lemon drizzle, which is very simple. All you need is 4 ingredients really: sugar, flour, fat and eggs. And if you've got that, you can make anything. You start off and get things ready. You have a tray lined with greaseproof paper, and here we go. You put the sugar in.
How much sugar do you
6
use?
ounces.
6 ounces.
Yeah, 6 ounces of sugar. Yeah, 6 ounces of sugar.
Now take some notes, people.
Yeah. 6 ounces of fat. If you're using butter, make sure it's at room temperature, because it's very difficult to work with if it's cold. So baking fat is fine.
How long have you been making these cakes for,
Oh,
Catherine?
goodness, I don't know. 50 years, I suppose. And if you've got a wooden spoon, is fine. Just keep beating it until you blend in the sugar and fat. And you need 3 eggs.
Am I allowed to help you?
Yes, you can. That's better. Oh, pliable, now you can mix it. Quite a simple cake. If you've never made one before, then this is one of the easy ones.
It looks lovely.
Well, I hope it tastes nice. I mean,
How many of these have you made over the years?
sorry?
How many of these cakes have you made over the
Oh,
years,
I don't
Catherine?
know. Hundreds and hundreds of them.
Well, you raised 2 sons, didn't
And
you?
I've used the same mixing bowl.
Fantastic.
And it's an old favourite. Then you add your flour. A little bit at a time.
How much?
There's 6 ounces of
6
flour.
ounces.
Yeah.
So it's 6 ounces of flour and
6 ounces of sugar
of sugar.
and 6 ounces of fat. And 3 eggs.
So viewers out there, take notice.
If you're making a bigger cake, then up it by another 2 ounces and
Sure.
have 4 eggs instead of
Uh-huh.
3. And 8 ounces of flour. You might need a little drop of milk sometimes. I think you'll need just a little drop. Only about a spoonful. You grate your lemon.
1 or 2 lemons.
The other one's for making the syrup.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, you make it all look very, very simple.
There's nothing to it, you just put it all in. Even if you've never made one before, it's one of the simplest ones to make.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, that will suit me very well.
Watch out for seed in the lemon. You don't want that in the cake.
It's the good old-fashioned way of doing that.
Make sure your oven's turned on before you, for about 10 minutes or so before you put the cake in, so that it's at the right temperature.
I see.
Yeah. And there you go, that's it.
Well, as I say, you make this look very, very easy.
Spread it out a bit. And there you go. Put it in your oven. It's the bottom. Shelf needs to come down. And just pop it in the oven.
Yeah.
And it takes about 40 minutes.
Well, that's fantastic.
Right. And then
you make this look so simple.
It is, I suppose, simple, yeah.
Now, how do you make the drizzle for
Now,
this?
in the meantime, you get your other lemon. I need another knife. In a little saucepan, you just put a spoonful of, can you pass me the sugar? Yeah, see next. Thank you.
2 spoonfuls.
Yeah, a couple of spoonfuls.
Dessert
Yeah.
spoonfuls.
That's right. Squeeze what I can out of it. That's it. And you just for a few minutes till the sugar dissolves, and just boil it for a minute. Your cake will take about 40 minutes to cook. And while it's still hot, you make some holes in the top of it and then pour the syrup around it. Let it sizzle for a minute.
Catherine, thank you so much for
Oh,
showing us how to do that. That
Bit
was
of a
wonderful.
bit of a shambles.
No, on the contrary, you make it
really
look
good.
so simple.
Yeah.
That was absolutely wonderful. Now what we have to do is now we have to set up a table so that we can eat it.
Yes, yes. And Max can, obliterate the bad bits, such as the
There are no bad
shell
bits.
breaking.
There are no bad bits, darling. It's lovely, and thank you so much for teaching us how to do that.
Quite enjoyed
That's
it.
lovely. We'll enjoy it all the more when we eat it, I can tell you. That is now in the oven and waiting for us to devour. Could you go through the ingredients again, Catherine?
Yeah.
So that the viewers can write it down this time.
Right. All you need is 4 items, and that is sugar, 6 ounces of sugar, 6 ounces of self-raising flour, and 6 ounces of fat. If you're using butter, make sure it is soft, because it's difficult to work with if it's cold. And 2 lemons, and that's it. And you just whisk up the fat and the sugar, then add the flour and the eggs and your lemon rind and juice, and that's your cake, and that's all there is to it.
You make it sound very, 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 very simple.
And you cook
Thank you so much.
And you cook it for 40 minutes, round
No.
about.
What degree for the oven?
Gas is number 4 and electric is 160.
Couldn't be simpler.
And that's it.
Wow, I'm looking forward to that cake in a second.
Then
Lovely.
you make a syrup with the juice of the other lemon and a couple of spoonfuls of sugar. Make a syrup, and then when the cake is cooked, you punch holes in the top of it and pour your syrup over the top, and it soaks into the cake.
I see. Yes.
And that's it. And you can sprinkle a bit of sugar on the top if you like. Or even whiz a bit of ice in.
I'm absolutely ashamed of myself that I've never learned to do this sort of thing. You raised 2 boys, didn't you?
Yes.
You know? So I imagine you cooked a lot of these.
But there you go.
Thank you again.
That's it.
Thank you. Will set the table up and devour the sponge.
Okay then, right.
Don't go away.
Tidy
Don't
up.
go away. Stay with us.
Tidy up
because
for Linda.
It gets better.
My language, right, royal today.
Perfect.
Really.
Oh, there were 5 cars. The last one.
While the cake's still hot, just make a few little holes in it.
Up the broil. I called them a few names, I can tell you. It wasn't polite names.
I don't want the tin to touch the wood.
Here we go. Here's a.
That's it, that's it.
Oh, it is unique. Oh, no. Unfortunately not.
And then just
It is quite shocking the way
spoon your syrup
a lot
over
of
the
people
top.
drive their
Oh,
cars.
I'm sure it is. Well, I mean, the whole world is shocking. It's lawless now.
And then that made me laugh. There was a van, you know, like a
That's it.
van with making roads safer on it and police and all that.
Now that the cake's cold, it's all ready to be cut and eaten. Oops.
This is pretty serious. Maybe it would be good for you when you're training. The one that we were talking about. Would you fancy that? So do they a cooking show within a band?
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Cut another couple of
Yes.
pieces.
Keith puts these out onto, but it is a television station, it's
Yeah.
not just the internet. So they say, and it goes as far as Poland and places, goes all over the world. America
That's it.
and then he talks to ladies.
All right.
How old is he?
Alright.
Ah, looky.
Oh, wow. That looks delicious.
Well, I hope it is.
I think we need a little glass of something to go with that, don't you?
Do. That's, can you open that for us? You're
I
on
can
camera.
do it, I can do it.
Woo! Lovely.
We know it's going to do it.
Well, cheers. Cheers to lemon drizzle cake.
And many more to come.
And many more to come, yes, of course.
Thank you for letting us use the kitchen.
Absolute
Otherwise we couldn't
pleasure.
have done it at all. Couldn't
Pleasure.
use the
No,
room.
we couldn't. No.
No, couldn't have done it.
That's what it's there for. Lovely. Well, thank you, Kathy. Sybil.
Thank you.
Max.
Thank you very
Max.
much.
It's delicious.
We are sitting down with Linda Page, Mrs.
Pleased to
Linda
meet you
Page,
all.
who is the owner of this beautiful, lovely house. In fact, she runs a B&B here, which has won a lot of awards, and we're very, very proud of the people that come to stay
Yes,
here. Linda,
yes.
you must have made a lot of friends while you were doing
Yes,
this.
yes. A lot
Yes.
of different people from different walks of life.
Yes, I'm sure.
And people come and stay with me sort of year after year now.
Yes.
A lot of people from Glyndebourne, Glyndebourne Opera. Sometimes they stay 3 or 4 times a year.
I bet you
So,
look forward to them.
I do.
returning.
It's like having family.
Now, what is the name of your
It's the Cowshed
cowshed?
bed and
And that is
breakfast.
in Ringmer, Lewes, East Sussex. So you people in America, Poland, and all over the place know where we are.
Everyone's welcome. Full English breakfast.
And we're about to devour the lemon sponge cake.
Who's serving?
I think you are.
Lovely. Well, thank you, Kathy. Sybil.
Thank you.
Max.
Thank you very much.
It's delicious.
Okay.
That's Max's wine there.
You'll drink some of that, won't you?
Yeah, of course I will. It's alcohol.
Cheers.
Cheers, Linda.
Cheers. Cheers, everyone.
Kathleen.
Cheers,
Max.
Cheers.
Lovely to meet you all.
It's lovely to meet you too.
And a lovely afternoon.
Isn't it?
Mm.
Okay, now.
Lots of smiles. Are we happy with fingers?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Good. Best way to eat cake.
Oh, way.
Oh my god. Oh. That is delicious.
Absolutely
Delicious.
marvellous.
Mm.
And so easy. Well, you make it look easy.
Mm. I think I could make that. And I'm not very good at cakes, but
Well, I think we're duty bound to try, aren't we?
I think I could manage that one.
Yeah, it's easy.
It was quite straightforward.
Absolutely, yes.
6 ounces of everything, really,
Yes,
isn't it?
yes.
And
bingo.
and an egg per 2 ounce, I suppose it works out, doesn't it? Yeah.
Well, I'd like to say thank you so much, Catherine, for making this little afternoon possible.
Thank you to Linda
Such
for
a-
letting
I've had such
do
a
the demonstration
lovely
in her
time with
lovely
you.
kitchen.
Absolute delight. I
Thank you
thoroughly
very
enjoyed
much.
it.
Thank you,
I've
Linda.
learned how to make a cake.
Yes.
I'm
And
sure you can make a cake, Linda.
I've enjoyed your company, all of you. You're welcome anytime.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Linda.
You've got a beautiful home.
Yes,
and you've
lovely.
chosen to share it with us. And it's been
That's
a
it, that's
lovely,
what it's
lovely
for.
afternoon.
Yeah.
The kind, and we need more of these.
We do.
Really,
Yeah,
really
we
do.
do.
And thank you so much, Catherine, for making it possible.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bit of a model, but it's got done.
Beautiful.
We're going to
Yeah.
call the series Cath Cakes.
Yes.
Nice, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
I like that. Yeah.
Linda, thank you again. Thank
Pleasure.
you, Catherine.
Pleasure.
And thank you so
Max,
much for
yeah.
watching us, and thank you, Max, for putting up with us.
That's all right.
You've got quite a bit of editing to do, my dear, but
Yes.
yeah, I'm sure you'll do something nice.
Well, there they are, the ladies in Ringmer. And from Ringmer, let's go to Arundel now, because we have Philip Meredith there standing by. Good morning, Philip.
Good morning, Keith.
I was reminded, by the way, that of course we go into purdah in broadcasting on the on polling day. So talking about the election is not on. But you actually mentioned the other day that Harry Atherton gave a really masterful summation of life in Normandy once we got him off politics. So perhaps I can get you to give me a masterful explanation of life in Arundel, keeping you off politics.
Well, I'm very happy to keep off politics, and in similar fashion, I think I've told you and the man and his dog before that I listen almost exclusively to Radio 3. Well, they have had an absolute moratorium on any mention of politics. Obviously, they do a news bulletin, but that's as far as it goes. So they've been election-free, an election-free zone, which has been rather pleasant.
Refreshing.
So, yeah, life in Arundel. Well, my wife and I will vote later this evening when I collect her from work, because the polling station is just down the road near the main Arundel roundabout, the A27 roundabout, at a senior citizens' home called Warwick Court. So we'll pop down there. Well, actually, I can drive just on the. It's a different way back from the school, and I can drop us off very nearby. But life in Arundel, well, how long have you got? What time is Henty on? 10 o'clock.
he'll come tapping on the window around about 10. Yes.
I've lived in Arundel since 1988, which is the year I was married. We married in the local church, the parish church of St. Nicholas, We had our reception, albeit it was fairly shoestring in those days, at a still wonderful coastal hotel in a region called Climping. And there's Climping Beach and obviously the sea. And this wonderful hotel that we revisit when we can is called Bailiff's Court. And it's a very interesting collection of buildings because it was put together in the 1930s by an eccentric American, very wealthy American, whose name I forget. And he collected genuine buildings of various ages and eras and had it rebuilt on the site. So to go in, a man of my height, I have to duck because it's effectively medieval. It's a fascinating place. And there is this absolutely gorgeous courtyard, a proper enclosed courtyard with tables and umbrellas and also lovely grounds that go almost down to the beach. So that's where we had our reception. Our first house was on a street in the centre of Arundel called Arran Street. Now, Arran Street is of interest. We've mentioned the port of Arundel before, haven't we?
Yeah.
Well, Arran Street is still the widest street in the town. And the reason it's so wide is that was the main loading area for the port of Arundel. And so it needed the width of the then, it wouldn't have been a metal road, it would be a road or a carriageway of its time. And even now you've got the very old but well kept iron pillars with a ring in the top, which is what they use to help haul up the goods from the port up to the next level, which is now a road called Tarrant Street. It was also the centre of the port, so though it's all residential now, there were pubs, there were brothels. It really was, if you like, it was Jack Tar's paradise, really. And very steeped in history, as indeed Arundel generally is. As you know, Keith, it's the seat of the Dukes of Norfolk, Roman Catholics, because Arundel is Roman Catholic. Even these days, prods are in a minority. I mean, even on the road I now live, which is not in central Arundel, most of my neighbours are Roman Catholic, and they worship at the Catholic Church, which is a cathedral, St. Philip's Cathedral, at the very top of the hill, opposite the parish church. But though it's a cathedral, Arundel can't call itself a city because the cathedral is Roman Catholic. So discrimination still exists in a sort of way. My wife and I went to a funeral of a Roman Catholic neighbour of ours who died after a long battle with cancer, and her funeral was absolutely packed. It's a huge building, very impressive building, and it's where my wife sings with the Arran Choral Society, because they do choral music concerts there. Packed, standing room only. She was that popular, and a great loss. But it was a full funeral mass, and as you may know, they take, well, minimum an hour, if not longer, depending on how many people are taking communion. Of course, that's the big difference between the Catholics and the Protestant or the non-Catholics, is what they believe is happening when they eat the host. In the Protestant church or non-Catholic church, as you may know, they believe in what is called consubstantiation. In other words, it is a representation of the body of Christ. However, the Roman Catholics believe that they call transubstantiation, which means what it says on the tin. They actually think that through the conduit of the priest, who in the Catholic Church is a very powerful person, that wafer actually becomes the body of Christ. So you're being a cannibal, if you like. You, as a Roman Catholic, you're eating the body of Christ. And the other difference is because the congregation does not drink the wine. Only the priests drink the wine, whereas certainly in my parish church, perhaps in yours, Anglican churches, however high, it's bread and wine.
Yes.
Which was as was pointed out about you many months ago by an ex-colleague of mine, was the only reason you went to church.
That's right. First week on
and
Sunday.
I've learned more recently that you go up to take communion 3 times. So we've got the castle. We've got the castle, which is the home of the Duke of Norfolk. When he is in residence, the flag flies, the Fitzalan Howard flag flies. The current Duke is called Eddie or Edward, and he's the Premier lay peer of England and Wales. Bizarrely, as a Catholic, but he is, and he was responsible for organising Queen Elizabeth's funeral, and also played his part at the coronation. He is divorced. How he managed that, heaven knows. His first wife, who everybody adored, fabulous woman called Georgina, gave him 5 children. So the reason can't have been non-consummation, Keith, can it?
They are able to stretch, aren't they, when they want to?
Oh my goodness, aren't they? So to everybody's dismay, in particular the Catholic community, he rid himself, as he would put it, of this delightful woman, and then remarried somebody who is really very unpopular, a bit of a Camilla situation, you know. But no, the castle is open to the public. It is well worth a visit. You can do it. You can either just have the grounds, or you can have the castle and the grounds. It's not particularly cheap, because he's very much a money maker, this Duke. Very much a property man, because the Norfolk estate round here, it's huge. It's huge. Where my wife teaches in Slindon, many of those houses still are or were part of the Norfolk estate, and they were all built and painted in a certain colour, and many of them remain, and you know that they were once, if not now, owned by and occupied by ducal retainers. And there's a rather splendid, what they call the Collector Earl's Garden, because one of the earls, not the Duke, but one of the previous earls, was a bit of a botanist collector, and he brought back from all around the world very exotic and unique plants and so on. So they're all up in the Collector Earl's garden, which is very much worth a look. Now, the parish church is divided into two, and it's divided by, it used to be a brick wall in more discriminatory days, because the other half of, let's face it, what was once their church, before the Reformation, is what's known as the Fitzalan Chapel, which is where the Fitzalan Howard dead are buried. It's a crypt, and you can, by appointment, also see that. Like I say, the screen today is a huge glass and metal structure, and once a year it is opened up as a sort of a, how can I put it, a conciliatory, ecumenical gesture to alleviate this idea of them and us. But like I say, it is glass, and if you go to the back of the altar at St. Nicholas's, which by the way is a splendid building in itself, and in fact, archaeologists and preservationists have actually been able to get rid of some of the Puritan whitewash to reveal these amazing, I mean, obviously they've lost their colour now, but pre-Reformation wall decorations, we would call it graffiti, if you like, behind the whitewash, because the Puritans actually shut the church down. They literally whitewashed it. And in the Civil War, when the parliamentarians occupied Arundel, they used the church as a stable for the horses. So that's what they thought of what is now our parish church. But if you go behind the altar, you can then look into the Fitzalan Chapel, which is a fairly, no pun intended, it is a dead place. It's not used other than for the funerals and interment of a member of the family. So that's the top of the town on a road called London Road, because if you follow that road down, you drop down to river level, the River Arun, and you go down the High Street, which is a really very steep slope. Now, Arundel has what is still called the Relief Road, because Arundel on the A27 is a bottleneck. Dual carriageway comes single track. It snakes its way through across a river bridge and then back up the slope on the other side of the river, past the railway station, up to a higher ground that we call Cross Bush. And it's only at Cross Bush that you can regain the dual carriageway. So it's a bottleneck, even with a so-called relief road. And a matter of huge local controversy, and this has been the case ever since I moved here. So it's even before 1988, and it's still a controversy, is the building of a new bypass to link Crossbush with where the A27 goes past a place called Binstead, and to make it all dual carriageway with a ugly, cheap bridge across the River Arun that will wipe out the floodplain and then go right the way through some of the most ancient woodland and peaceful rural area you will experience in the south of England. Well, again, that road is on hold. And if there is one advantage for Labour getting in, speaking selfishly and locally, there is no way they will fund that road. No way. we hope. Anyway, the point I'm making is the top road is called London Road because that was the main London road. All the traffic before they built the Relief Road in the early 70s, all of the traffic in those days, throughout the 60s and before, went up and down the high street. And apparently it was mayhem. You know, can you imagine? I mean, obviously the lorries were nothing like as big as they are today. But imagine all the lorries up and down, chugging up that hill, spitting out fumes. And then it would go up over the top, past where the cathedral is, and drop down to a road called the A283, which then goes up to a place called Whiteways, which is above Amberley, in the Sussex Valley, the Arun Valley, and then it would join the A29. And that's what the old road system was. But the High Street is a lively place. It's not as good as it was because any useful shops sadly have gone. I mean, we used to have a genuinely wonderful hardware store. You could get anything. And they had knowledgeable people running it. It was called Paines, Paines, and they would do anything for you. They would do wood for you, tools. Do you have to go?
If you'll just keep going, I'm just going to let John in.
Yes, please do. So, sadly, that's all gone, and Arundel is more now a tourist venue than anything practical. I mean, there is a couple of mini supermarkets. There are plenty of pubs. There's at least 2 hotels. There's a very good local butcher's and a very good local delicatessen. The delicatessen, which specialises in wines and cheeses, sadly, you need a mortgage to buy stuff in there, but it is very good quality, as is the butcher's. But other than that, it's all coffee shops, restaurants, burgers. I mean, the proliferation of coffee shops. I mean, it is incredible how many coffee shops the public seem to need. And you can't get away from the damn things in Arundel. Now, the level down from London Road that links up with the High Street is called Tarrant Street. And Tarrant Street is, again, a fascinating street, but taken up with restaurant. I mean, again, we used to have a couple of florists. We had a butcher's. It's all gone. It's all either antique shops, jewelers, like I say, flipping coffee shops. There is an old converted chapel called the Nineveh Chapel that is a very, very good antique centre. It really is Aladdin's cave in there, and they're pretty reasonable, and they know their stuff. Couple of convenience stores that do sell newspapers, and then I mean, again, we had a really fabulous greengrocers further down the street, on that junction of the street where I once lived, Arun Street, run by a chap who grew most of his own stuff, a bloke called Bob Alford, who was a local legend. He was one of the rudest men ever to live on this earth, but he was hilarious. He was the John Cleese of greengrocers, the Basil Fawlty, and women would be scared of going in there because he would make it. I mean, my wife would send me in if I was there because he would come out with something that, you know, and even, you know, the older, more conservative women who were used to all this, they found him totally incorrect. You know, it was hilarious stuff. But he was a fantastic greengrocer, and the own veg he used to grow. He had more than an allotment. He had a proper field. Was superb stuff. And again, he wasn't expensive. It was more of a hobby for him. But and he would employ youngsters in the town, and I know them now as much older people, and they have said to me they learned so much from Alfred about what to buy, how to know if something's still fresh, worth buying, how to prepare it, how to cook it, you know. So he was a bit of a star in his own way, and because the blokes loved him, because you know he was able to say or prepare to say what we weren't. But that's all gone. It's all gone. And then
yes, life has changed, I think, a great deal.
Well, it hasn't changed for the better. Put it that way, Keith. But Tarrant Street carries on through a residential part of it, adjacent to the River Arun, and joins up with the main A27 roundabout at the very end. Now, the posh bit of Arundel is a higher up road called Maltravers Street. And Maltravers Street is still probably the grandest part of Arundel. Wonderful Georgian architecture. No new builds in sight. Very, very expensive properties. And those who live on Maltravers Street do consider themselves both literally and actually a step above everybody else, because they're right up the top. Because as in any town, I'm sure Lewis has them as well, there is a certain snobby element. And Arundel has that, as I'm sure many places do. And then at the bottom of the high street, if you turn left, you've got what's called Mill Road, which is a long boulevard, basically, that goes up to the old trout farms, where you've got this incredible, chalk farms, and you've got this amazing crystal clear water that feeds into the Arun as a tributary. And it's like looking in the Med. And it's so clear because of the chalk. The water has bubbled through the chalk, and it's cleansed. Amazing to watch, and you can see the fish. It's like a living aquarium because it's like a river bridge. And then we have Swanbourne Lake, which is a huge man-made lake made by one of the dukes in the Victorian times. And you can walk round the lake, and you can hire a rowing boat and stuff like that. And then at the very end, we have the Wildfowl Trust, the Wetlands and Wildfowl Trust, one of the original ones, which does what it says on the tin: geese, ducks, plenty of other birds, nice cafe, lovely boardwalk, all on the flat. Even you cope with that, Keith.
Well, that's a very graphic description of Arundel. We're joined with John Henty now. Do you know Arundel?
I will say
yes, I know Arundel. Love the place. Frequently go there, and also to that wonderful antiques emporium that was mentioned a few moments ago. Regular visitors there.
Oh well, I'm glad you've been, John.
Yes,
very glad you've been. The Nineveh Chapel. What you may not know is if you go beyond the chapel, and there's a convenience store, then there's a little gateway that you can go in. That is the old Methodist cemetery. And there's still quite unique graves, actually. I wouldn't quite call it a mausoleum, but it's quite fascinating, the history. And there's now a big sort of new build, but quite well done building development that goes behind the chapel, across a road called River Road, which is literally adjacent to the Arun River, which is where the old port used to be. So, nice area. Well, I'm glad you like Arundel. It just gets very busy, John.
Yes.
It gets very busy. I get very frustrated as a resident. I mean, Keith, joking apart, Keith has his moments in Lewis with the Red Devil, but he just wouldn't be able to use it in Arundel. The pavements are so narrow, far narrower than Lewis. Anyway, I will say goodbye, John, goodbye, Keith. Have a good hour. And I'll see you probably tomorrow, Keith.
I look forward to it.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Cheerio. Oh, well.
As you know, John, we're in Purda on politics. So we've been, I think actually it's not a bad thing because we haven't been able to talk about politics this morning. We talk about absolutely everything else.
As you so often do, of course, yes. Yes, I was going to tell everybody who I voted for because I thought that would be relevant. So therefore, I'm just about to diverge who... This moderator's gone balmy, you know. There I was about to divulge. I haven't even voted yet. I'm too old to vote anyway, you know. Hey, oh yeah, no, don't you start. Oh dear, once he starts, I'll tell you that they won't let him in the polling station. No way at all. No, I couldn't agree more.
Did you take your little bag with you to the polling station?
Did I?
Oh.
Yes, but they said, "Excuse me, sir, could you tell us what's in there?" I said, "I haven't got a clue what's in there, my dear." They said, "You can have a look if you'd like, but I do warn you, if you are a sensitive person, then I think you better be advised that much of there relates to a program on Mirador." Oh, Mirador, she said. Oh, Mirador. Mirador, what's Mirador? I said, "My dear girl, if you don't know what Mirador is, you're not fit to sit in this polling station," I said. I mean, Mirador is, I saw her. She said, "Well, if you don't mind, I'll just call security. Just a minute." Eric. Of course, Eric had gone for tea anyway. So, I mean, what's that? Security? I said Coco. No, I thought it was a golden opportunity, as they are on the Today program. You know, those other people in broadcast, BH in London as opposed to BH in Lewis. And I thought, no, it's a golden opportunity. So they've been rabbiting on and on and on. And we're about to do the same, madam. So prepare to go click. No, don't do that. Don't do that. You never know what you might.
You never know what you might find out on Mirador.
Well, exactly. I mean, a bubble.
Hidden gems.
Oh, pardon?
Hidden gems.
Oh,
it's a treasure hunt.
I mean, there are so many riches here that by switching off, you're going to miss all. For example, did you know, madam, that person on the Today program who mumbles most of the time and also does a program called University. I'm not going to mention him by name just in case I get arrested. But in point of fact, that gentleman, it's his birthday today. You didn't know that? How did I know? Well, I didn't send him a card for a start. But there's a newspaper here that obviously keeping in touch, a good friend here regularly does this. He has this copy of the... Can I mention the newspaper?
You can.
It is the Times. Yeah. And I turned to the Times because I thought there are birthdays today, including I have one very important birthday. A young lady who shall not be named, but in point of fact, it's her 18th birthday today.
Why aren't you naming her?
Well, because she's family, and you never know. They might get a little upset. They might say, "Oh, I'm not." But she'll know who she is anyway. Yes. And the remarkable thing is, if I was a newspaper reporter down at the polling station, sounds like a song, doesn't it? Down at the polling station. I would probably interview her because today she can vote. Today specifically she can vote.
Right, and it's her birthday today.
It is.
All right, so she just made it.
Exactly. Whether she appreciates that or actually will, I don't know. I can't speak for anyone under the age of 90. Talking of which, I did think they seized the opportunity on the Today programme, and we could do the same. They did go on a bit, and I can do this. You know that lady in Rusper, she knows how I go on and on and on. I could go on about American politics, but I mean, I'm not sure that would be wise, you see. Are we allowed to mention American politics?
We are indeed, and I already mentioned the Biden phenomenon, yes.
Well,
So,
you and I think, are entitled to mention this and to discuss it for a very simple reason that we are both, I think I can safely say, 80 years of age.
we are.
I know, it's unbelievable, madam. You thought they were all like these. Well, we're not. We're not. He's not. I'm not. Right? Get it right. And you need not be either, madam. I know I'm being glib at the moment, but I'm very good at being glib. The basic facts are that being at 80, you and I would say, hang on, look, if someone said to you, Keith, I want you to fly to Kyiv to talk to that Ukrainian bloke, and then I want you to go to Paris where there's a meeting of the G7 or something. Then I want you to fly back. Then I want you to belt all round America in the next 15 days. And then I want you to do a major television interview, art lights, people putting the pressure on you, shouting at you, accusing you of things. And then they wonder why the bloke has a wobbly. In other words, it's absurd. No one of 80 plus. All right, so he shouldn't be doing it. But the point is, oh dear.
But you know, the big problem is the champagne is not free on that. Whereas with you and I, with free champagne, we can do it twice in a day.
Flows all over I mean, there's a dog in this pub that goes round lapping it all up. You've never seen such a happy dog in your life. He goes down the old high street. He doesn't know whether he's a dog or a cat. All the champagne everywhere.
Back legs, Buckley.
Oh dear! I mean, the place is awash with champagne when we're on the television. No, seriously, I don't think it's absurd. I mean, there are unless I'm much mistaken, 2 80-year-olds, and all I can say is, and of course everybody's saying the same thing. They're saying, for goodness sake, if you turn on CNN, all right, turn on Fox if you want to, the NBC, whoever they are, there are very astute presenters, rather like this program, you know, who can put words together and can enunciate and can make some sense. So how on earth is it that as a direct result of that, all these people are commentating on 2 blokes 80 plus who can't really make any sense at all? There's no sense. Surely to goodness in America. I said to a friend of mine today, a good friend of mine, Simon, who used to be at my radio station, which was in Brighton. It was called Radio Brighton. And he worked there. He was a voice. He read the news and he did various other chores. And he may be watching even now. He lives in Los Angeles, you know, and he earns a very large sum of money wisely because he has this wonderful English voice. And he therefore does audio books, and they think he's marvelous, and he wins awards after awards. I've sent a message to this lovely friend who I should call Simon, because that's his name. I've said to him, Simon, come home now while the going's good. I said, you've got 4 months to come home before heaven knows what happens in November. And another thing, our election, about 4 weeks, if not 6 weeks. They've got another 4 months to go. For goodness sake, you know America, I know America. I said to my friend Simon, come home, you're living in a theme park. Send in the clowns, I said. Because frankly, there was a lovely lady, I mentioned her before, whose name was Alice, who lives in the Yukon, remember? And she's got grizzly bears in her back garden.
The Yukon lady.
Alice, lovely lady, who said when George Bush was about to be re-elected or voted in as president, she said, if that man gets in, I'm getting the hell out of here. And she did. She moved from where she was on the West Coast, and she moved all the way up to the Yukon. And she's very happy up there, despite she'd rather have grizzly bears in the garden than Donald Trump. Let's put it. I mean, well, he's a grizzly bear if ever there was one, for goodness sake. Enough politics at the moment, I think. But I did just want to wish a happy birthday to all these people. I'll mention one or two other people. It's quite interesting. Amal Raj, there we are. I've mentioned his name. That lovely lady, Jenny Seagrove.
Wonderful. She's the railway children.
The railway children. Lovely, lovely person. We won't mention her age, actually, but she's not. Pam Shriver, tennis.
Yeah.
Pam Shriver, it's her birthday as well. And a lady called Jo Wiley, who's on the BBC. She's a sort of disc jockey.
Yes.
Wiley, not Wiley's Bridge here in. It's Wiley's Bridge, isn't it?
It is.
Yes. It is. I don't know whether she owns the bridge, probably. But anyway, it's Jo Wiley's birthday. Broadcaster and DJ, the age of 59, and she was at Glastonbury, I think, and looking rather splendid. She's rather nice. I like her. There's a lot of DJs that I don't have a lot of time for, a whole range of reasons. One you may remember called David Kid Jensen.
Oh, indeed, I do.
I think he's Canadian.
Yes,
Canadian. Well, it's his birthday. He supports the same football club that I do, but we won't go down that road. And David Kid Jensen is 74 today, so happy birthday to him. A youngster, comparatively speaking. We can say that, you see, at the age of 80. And that's the reason why we welcome people watching Mirador, because there is a tendency to dismiss people who are 80 years old. But I mean, you must admit, come on, that man is Poynings. No, wait a minute, further afield. He's in Purfleet. Yes, and it's a woman. I beg your pardon.
I love that name, Purfleet.
Purfleet.
Yes.
A perfect name for a destiny. I don't know where it is, in Essex somewhere, Purfleet. Tell us anyway a bit later on. So I wanted to just wish the happy birthday.
Yes.
And
I think
yes.
that Kid Jensen actually worked on a rock station in Vancouver for a short period of time.
I wouldn't be surprised
while I was there.
Yes.
But the other places I came across him, and this will strike a chord with you, is a few years ago when they had the Battle of Britain memorial thing, they held it on a farm somewhere out towards Eastbourne, and the lady from Ringmer was there. We'll meet again.
Oh yes,
and he hosted that.
David Vera.
Yes, David Vera. He hosted that event. Yes.
Yes, he's not been well. He's had some difficulties in his life, as we all do, of course. So we wish him well. He happens to be watching at the moment, and we'll offer him this, which is not the first time on Mirador, but it's something that I think amuses. It is, of course, the famous Daleks, for example, and they have a little birthday message, which is.
This is a communication from Dalek Command. It is your birthday. Celebrations are authorized. Celebrate.
Anyway, it is your birthday. That's Dalek Command telling you to celebrate it. So it's your birthday today, and you're happy as you should be today. Then we wish you a very happy birthday.
So tell me, as you walk the streets of Lewis, do the Daleks that are scattered along the roadside, do they say happy birthday?
I have noticed one or two of those, actually. I haven't mentioned it before, obviously, because we don't want to start any sort of this. We don't want people to suddenly start fleeing Lewis because there's been an invasion by Daleks. But it wouldn't surprise me. It's the sort of place where they could have one of their vast. Is there a police box? There used to be a police box in Lewis.
I don't know where it is, if it is, but
I think so.
They were wonderful things.
What, police boxes?
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness me! If they're no longer of use, I would like one for my back garden.
Yes.
I think that would be nice.
Yes, and actually, from time to time, you might get Dr. Hugh come visiting.
That is also a possibility. The great thing about police boxes, of course, and especially those on the program, the Daleks, etc. You open the door, and then there's this vast, wonderful area within. We've all dreamed about that, rather like that wonderful story about the wardrobe. Children going into a wardrobe and then discovering in the wardrobe there is this magical world. I know it's all the mind and children's lovely imagination,
Yeah.
and long may it remain. because
Oh, indeed.
the
Yes.
trouble, the thing that bothers you, I know, Keith, and bothers me, is that so much reference today to the small screen, putting aside this one for a moment, but small screens, you know, you do wonder when children on buses, etc., are all looking at the screen,
Yeah.
you know, and how does that stretch their imagination? I don't think it does, but that's another issue, which we daren't go down today.
Well, you know, as you know, last Friday I went down to Littlehampton and I struggled on my walking stick with the help of the people on the trains.
Yeah.
I haven't travelled on the train for some time, but I then remembered that this is a wonderful thinking time, and that you can look out through the window and something would just jig your imagination.
Yeah.
The way you would go into a land which you'd forgotten about. So perhaps what we should do is make sure that children, without their phones, go for a ride on the train.
Couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I still travel by train a very great deal, actually, and enjoy it, I have to say. There is the good news living in Lewes, as some of you will know. It is only about 15 minutes by train, 15 to 20 minutes to Brighton. And I use that time personally because I've always meditated, and a train is a jolly good time to meditate. You can do it various ways. You don't have to close your eyes. You can point a fact, just meditate and take in the wonderful scenery, as you say, the South Downs, and then there's the water as you go along, Shoreham, of course,
Yes.
Lancing, of course,
Absolutely.
Worthing, of course, and finally Littlehampton, which we mentioned some time ago, of course, was where my family, the Hentys, departed the UK
Yes.
in around 1820 and took the entire village with them on a boat. They went from Littlehampton via Rio de Janeiro all the way to it was the west coast of Australia. There was a journey all the way from Littlehampton. Numerous boats at that time, of course, launched from there. People forget that.
Well, I mean, the launch spot is still there. There's a little post that says Henty launch.
Henty's launch,
Yeah,
absolutely, I imagine so, yes,
yeah.
of course. And also, we must remember
A
that
bottle of champagne to buy it.
it was probably flooding the floors of Littlehampton at the time, the dogs enjoying it thoroughly, of course. And the other thing about Littlehampton is, of course, that it's good for a joke, actually. Oh, he's got a Littlehampton. Oh, it's not that little, is it? Exactly. A Max Miller joke. Don't go down that road, lady. Don't go down that road. I'll tell you one thing. What I like about Lewes, and I've got a little bit of evidence here, which I thought I'd bring with you. It's the people that you meet. I was walking through the various sort of pedestrian areas that we call it the precinct in Lewes. It's the precinct. There he is. There he is. He lives just off the precinct, does he? Oh, yes. So I was walking over the bridge, you see, over our lovely river, the super duper river. I wish they'd make more of our river, you know.
Yeah, I do too.
Don't
yes.
you think there ought to be more
Well,
rowing
yes, it should.
trips?
Can I just do a slight red herring?
Yeah.
Because it was too late this year that I started to try to find people in rowing clubs, because I think that the ooze would be ideal for, at the time of the raft race, where they like to make it a regatta, to have a head of the river rowing race. You know the thing that Lady Rocks where they bump the boat in front.
Well,
Are you on for that? As another of our projects?
Good idea. Good idea. But I mean, I think actually we could be corrected on that. I think there has been some evidence recently that there has been a fair amount of rowing on the ooze, but and more power to them.
Yes.
And I know
there is a rowing club, isn't there?
Yes, there is a rowing club too. Yes, which is quite a remarkable exercise. I've never been very good. I always because of the rhythm of it that is so difficult. I did follow the boat race once a long time ago, Oxford and Cambridge, and I was in a boat following it. And that was quite exciting, actually. I don't quite know how I ended up. I wasn't. I was a supporter of Oxford. I'm sorry to say that at the time. And Oxford didn't win on this occasion. Cambridge shot ahead, and it was all over. What I've got in here is the picture that I took. I don't have a camera phone as such. So I had my camera with me yesterday, and I took this photograph, which I've rolled up rather neatly because I don't want to damage it. So you must bear with me for a moment. But I was on the bridge. It was on the bridge at midnight when I spotted two very good-looking blokes. One of them I know. One of them is called John, and he's Little John, and he's known by everybody in Lewis. He's a lovely, lovely little man. He's just tall, and he's 94 years of age, and he's going very strong indeed. Bless him. And he was sitting there. There's a seat actually there, which is rather nice. And on this seat, he was sitting alongside a man who turned out to be Dave. His name was Dave. I said, "Yeah, I'm John. Who are you?" He said, "I'm Dave." I said, "Where do you live, Dave?" He said, "I live in Heathfield." He said, "I own a barber shop." I said, "Well, that's useful." I said, "Why aren't you there?" He said, "I've got two ladies running it at the moment," he said. And he was having this natter, as people do in Lewis, with Little John. And it was lovely, and I joined in, and we discussed a whole range of things.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Magic days. Magic days.
Absolutely wonderful. And I took a photograph because I thought, yes, this is worth capturing. And Dave said, "Oh, I'd like to see a copy of that." So I said, "Well, I'll send it to you," which is what I'm going to do. And I've got a copy also for lovely John, who is a resident for many, many years, probably his whole life. He's a lovely man. When you see this picture, and I hope you'll be able to see it, he's pointing to a bicycle. Here we go. This is the picture. Can you see that? I think we'll move it across there.
Yes.
That's just about right.
Yes.
Now, the man in the glasses, well, they're both wearing glasses, actually, but the bloke on my left, whatever it is, that is Dave from Heathfield. So hello to Dave from Heathfield. Hello, Dave. All right. And the man pointing is the lovely fellow, Little John. Very good friend. And he's saying to Dave, "You'd never get me on one of them," he said. He said, "I walk everywhere, and that's why I've reached the age of 90.
He meant the bicycle.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, Dave had the bicycle, and he'd obviously cycled there.
And John says, "You'll never get me on one of those."
And our dear friend, Little John, said, "You'll never get me on one of those." He said, "I walk everywhere." I said, "You don't walk everywhere?" He said, "I do." He said, I haven't even got a bus pass." I said, "What? 94 years of age and you haven't got a bus pass?" He said, "No, I walk everywhere." I said, "What, to Brighton?" "Yes." I don't think he probably does. He said, "I walk to Hassocks, you know." I thought, blimey, that's quite a walk over the downs and the rest of it. What a lovely man. And there he is every day. People see him scurrying around this, and he's a super bloke. Looks after himself. He's got his own little house. Bless him. 94 years of age. So full credit. Anyone out there at the moment in the Lewis area knows John. If you see him today, just give him a thumbs up. And not only give him a thumbs up, have a chat with him too, because he loves that. Absolutely. Isn't that nice?
Wonderful, wonderful. Have you actually done the South Downs Way?
No, I haven't. Have you?
No, I haven't. But on the way back from Littlehampton, there were two guys, very pleasant, who chatted to me with their bicycles. These rather modern things.
Well, they need to.
Yes. Yeah. But they were going to stay in Eastbourne overnight and then set out on the South Downs Way back towards Chichester and so on.
Lovely.
Yeah, and they sort of explained to me why they did it, beautiful scenery and historical points and so on and so forth.
Yeah, so
I felt guilty really that I hadn't done it. But,
yes, I hear that. I've done part of it, obviously, and we all have, up to the Devil's Dyke, for example, which is one part of it, and certainly around the Seaford area, of course, which again is one of the great advantages of living in this area. We're very privileged because most of the countryside is easily reached. For example, if you get on the train in Lewis, we talk about Arundel today earlier, but if you go in the other direction and get off at Glynde, for example, Glyndebourne, of course, and then there's a little further on another station I remember, Glynde, Beddingham, that's it.
Yes.
Lovely name, Beddingham. That's what Donald Trump. What do you do? Beddingham, yes.
There's a little community of Beddingham, isn't there?
Oh, yes. And of course, there are pubs everywhere, needless to say. Not as good as this one here in Lewis, of course, the Black Horse. But nevertheless, pubs, very popular at times, and big car parks, which is important. There's another one, of course, on the way as you go out of Seaford, and there's quite a long journey out of Seaford, and then you come to the what is it? Oh dear. It's that dear, it's that lovely bit of river that goes out to the sea.
Right.
Very near the Ashdown Forest.
Yes.
Very near the Ashdown Forest. And that is absolutely gorgeous there. There's a big pub overlooking.
Oh, yes. And that's the one that meanders.
Yes.
Yes.
Meanders, that's the word.
Yes.
That's a good word.
Is that the
Meanders.
River Cook? C-U-C-K? Is that it?
It could be.
Yeah.
Look, the river, what, the Cook?
Cook. Yes. C-U-C-K. Cook.
Well, I suppose it could be. I mean, there's Cookfield.
Yes, that's right.
And Cuckoo, of course.
Yes.
You don't hear cuckoos much.
No, you don't.
When did you last hear a cuckoo?
I haven't heard one for quite some time.
There are those who say we are cuckoo. I know that. Honestly, that is unnecessary. There's a lady in Littlehampton, obviously spurred on by your references. She said, "Why didn't you tell me you were coming here, Keith? I would have given you a nice cup of tea." He said, "Oh, what a shame. Never mind, dear. Next time he comes on the train." So, I mean, we seem to have covered a lot of ground today.
We have. Just going back to the River Cook for a moment, but that is more or less where Lord Lambton, I think, is. No, I've got the name slightly wrong, but the Glyne, the Lord of Glyne, assembled his army to go and stop the Royalists from invading Lewis.
Did it?
Yes.
Of course, that's right. Absolutely.
Yes.
Classic story.
Absolutely.
Were they successful?
Yes.
They were.
They won. Actually, it is the Battle of Haywards Heath, except it really is the Battle of Muster Green. Muster Green being that little triangle of land as you go into Haywards Heath. But yes, not only did he win, but the records show that the Royalists lost 200 men and he didn't lose any.
Nasty business.
Yes. Mind you, the winners always tell the history.
Yeah. Well, here are the battle results. Now, what else have I got in here? I got something, finally, I think I ought to mention this. And this is, I need to mention this because we're talking about childhood and the wonders of childhood. And at the weekend, I happened to be in Brighton as usual. And I saw someone on the lawns of the Royal Pavilion. And it was a very charming lady named Jan, who is the general manager for the Brighton Toy and Model Museum.
Oh, the one in the arch.
The one under the arches, absolutely.
Oh, it is a wonderland.
It is an absolute joy, and it is there, and they are looking after it. And she is now responsible. Britain's, or I should say Brighton, of course, best kept secret is having a makeover. So there is a little picture. You can see it. That's absolutely. That is, of course, as you come out of the railway station, a lot of people simply go straight down Queen's Road. And that's a mistake in a way, because if you just go round the corner and then down that slope, and you enter a wonderful area that I would recommend to everybody. And it's the North Lanes area of Brighton. And in terms of, for example, at Christmas, or if you have a birthday, for example, that's the place to go, because there are the most wonderful little eclectic shops.
You get great Christmas gifts. Yes,
absolutely perfect. And in addition, you can visit the Brighton Toy and Model Museum, which is a wonderland, and largely the responsibility of a very nice man called Littledale, Chris Littledale. I'm certain that's his name. And he set it up years ago in another location, and then they moved it all the way, and appropriately, of course, right underneath the railway station. Trouble with it there is that a lot of people don't realize it's there, and that's down to this lady who is the general manager and intends to get more and more parties there, PR and otherwise.
Well, it would be something that we would be very happy to push.
Yes, absolutely. Indeed. Well, they're looking for major corporate sponsorship, which is the only way to go. They need to get a large company like the American Express or one of those, or even Brighton and Hove Albion, for example, to give a good plug to this organisation. And it's a lovely, lovely place. And very often the trains are running on the various tracks, which is wonderful. And if you're very lucky, Mr. Littledale is there himself. and occasionally he does a voice. I've mentioned it once before, I think, on Mirador. He mentions the train announcement. Is a 1437. He does it so well into the microphone, and all the trains move off, and there's goods wagons and tunnels, of course, and even some sort of South Downs as well. It's a lovely, lovely place.
Yes.
Plus, loads and loads and loads. My speciality, really, children's games, lovely games.
Yes, it's
board games. Whatever happened to board games?
Yes, Magic Tavern, isn't it?
It is,
yes,
absolutely. By the way, there you are. That's another thing. Board games. You know, children are bored. They should take up board games. You know, play Ludo.
Yes, it's interesting you should say that, because I made reference before to one of our dear friends here who is now passed on. She died at 98, and she lived on South Street. Yeah. And my two grandsons, when they were sort of 4 and 5, would visit. When they would visit us, we would take them down there, and she would immediately get out her board games, Ludo, Snakes and Ladders, and so on, and they were fascinated. That was their introduction to those games, and they've never forgotten it.
Yeah, absolutely. The trouble with those games, I suppose, particularly Monopoly, for example, that it can go on and on and on. But then, in a way, did that matter? You know, why does everything have to be instant?
Yes.
You know, why does it?
Whole evening's entertainment.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Oh, there's some lovely board games. I was never into chess. I suspect you might play.
I did play a little chess. Yes. Yes.
I'm not. I was fairly good at drafts, but not chess. I have to say, chess was a bit complicated with rooks and then waiting for people to move and then remove things. I couldn't do that. Too complicated. But Ludo, wonderful. And also I've got some games, Snakes and Ladders.
Yes,
that's more like politics, really, isn't it? Snakes and Ladders. Yes. Oh no, the joy of all these things, which we celebrate, and we invite everybody to celebrate these things.
Yes.
It's,
can I mention another outdoor game?
Yes.
Because the deck has taken the day off today, and Joe is in charge of the bar.
Oh, right.
And Joe has just come in. I don't know whether he was mucking. Are you there, Joe? He was mucking around. But Joe plays cricket for Phil, and he plays match after match after match. He can be known to play 3 or 4 cricket matches in a week. But the point is, it's a wonderful open air game, and one where you can go and you can take your sandwiches if you wish. Cucumber sandwiches, and your champagne.
With all.
That's it. And,
of course. And the other thing is, of course, it's not if you go to Glide, not so long ago, you used to go to Glide, watch the game, and then you were actually able to have the tea in the pavilion. That's all laid out for the players, of course, but for spectators, you could also go and get some tea and have cups of tea and sandwiches there, watching the game at Glide.
Yes. And that's another lovely pitch.
Oh, yes. Excellent.
And the two of them, actually, both Glide and Phil, are remarkably successful because they both win their way to the village championship at Lords.
That's right, quite recently.
Yes, that's right.
Oh, yes.
I was just looking to see whether Joe is there, because he's heavily into cricket, and he said the other day he was going off to play at Ripe, and Ripe has got the Holly Bush or something like that pub, and there is the very first cricket pitch.
Oh yes, that's
ever.
right. In this country, ever played where cricket was played.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my goodness me.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness me. Yes. Well, I've enjoyed. I was never very good at sport, but I was fairly useful at cricket.
Yes.
I have to say.
Well, you could be sent out to the boundary and you could let your imagination go until the ball came whistling towards you. You do about 3 times in the game.
Exactly. I mean, this time last week, I mentioned the cricket that I played in Santa Barbara in California.
Along with David Dillon.
Yes, I mean, I was bloody useless, actually, and I was bowled out by a young Indian guy who played for Hollywood, believe it or not. But how on earth he was in Hollywood, I've no idea. And he was a very good spin bowler, and I think he got all 10 wickets. We were hopeless, but we did provide them with a wonderful tee. And I was put on the boundary to keep well out of the way, I suppose. And that was when I talked to the guy off the highway patrol who asked me, "What the hell is going on here, John?" And I said, "Well, we were playing cricket." He said, "What?" I said, "Well, we're playing cricket." He said, "What's happening now? Remember this?" I said, "Well, we're going to have some tea now." He said, "What, in the middle of the game? We're going to have some tea?" I said, "Yeah, well, you know, we must have cake and scones and things, and then we'll come back and carry on playing." Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yes, cricket's lovely. And of course, we're very fortunate. We've got the excellent ground at home, which is a super place.
Yes,
and they're trying to get more and more people to go and watch games.
Yes.
So they should.
Actually, Sussex is doing extremely well in the county championship at the moment.
Absolutely. So more power to their elbow.
Yeah.
The trouble with cricket, it's not a problem, but it's the problem we face today. People are not very good at sitting, watching anything for more than about 10 minutes. And they start thinking, I don't know, I've done that. Right, done cricket, next. What should we do now? That's the trouble. This instant, got to keep on the move stuff. You don't sit for, as I used to as a child, at the Oval Cricket Ground in Surrey playing Nottingham, for example. I'd sit there with my dad and we'd bring our sandwiches and we'd be there all day.
All day. Absolutely. And it was a wonderful adventure.
No longer. And then there's, of course, tennis. Better not go down that road. Come on, Andy! Come on, Andy! Oh dear, oh dear. I'm a little bit uncertain about all that hysteria at Wimbledon.
Well, me too. And actually, I have never been to Wimbledon to watch a match, but I have been to do some reports.
Yeah.
And do you know the thing that amazes me, John, is television makes it look as if centre court is huge.
Yeah.
And in fact, it's not quite tiny.
No.
It's an enclosed.
I know. I don't know. You know, they spend vast sums of money on strawberries and cream and stuff. And what I particularly dislike is the shouting out that goes on.
Oh yes.
I don't understand why
that's fairly modern, isn't it? It's fairly modern.
I suppose so. You know, and Andy, I see Andy actually is going to be in doubles. You see, I do keep in touch, madam. I'm not all just simply watching, you know, the other news. I watch this, and apparently Andy is going to be playing doubles with this Raducanu girl.
Yes,
Am I right?
Yes, right.
Absolutely. So that'd be an interesting pairing.
Absolutely. And he's playing doubles, men's doubles with his brother.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
But he had a cyst on his on his back, madam. No, I didn't say that. Apparently that was not very funny, was it? And then he had a bit of surgery and he decided no. So he's only 37. Only 37 years of age. You know, I mean, there was
just a tiddler, really.
Heaven knows how old Ronaldo is playing football.
Oh,
Cristiano Ronaldo. He was in tears, wasn't he? That was it. You watching any football?
Yes, I've watched a bit of the Euros. Yes.
Euros. Don't mention Euros. Yeah, we don't use Euros anymore. Not in this pub. We don't know. Sorry, sir. What's this? It's a Euro. Oh, what? Nah. Anyway,
but actually, don't you? Your team is Crystal Palace.
Oh,
right.
Yes.
Don't you have now an international or a couple of internationals?
Yes.
Yes.
What do you mean a couple? We've got 5.
5.
We've got 5 Crystal. Dear, oh dear. Listen, we're losing audiences. You can see all the numbers going beep, beep, beep. Mention Crystal Palace here in Lewis, I'm afraid. And it's a complete turn-off. All I will say is there are 5 of our players and the young centre-half who unfortunately got a yellow card, a yellow card. He won't be playing in the next game. So that means it's a possibility that the Brighton player, Lewis Dunk will be playing in his place. So that may be good news for Brighton.
You just triggered something in my mind.
Yes.
And I have a photograph. It's somewhere tucked away in this computer, I think, of you and I and your wife with a couple that used to be here who now moved out of Lewis, down at the dripping pan.
Oh, yes.
And we've been very proud of the women's team here who reached the cup final, the women's cup final a couple of years ago, and have done the parity of wages and so on and so forth.
Oh, yes.
But apparently they're going through a pretty bad time right now.
What the club is, well, I think that it's a transitional time. It's obviously many things. It's more than just football at the Dripping Pad. There is this question of equality, men earning the same money, but they're also, you won't get too. They have very good food now. You can get vegan pies and all that sort of thing. Right. And also during the ladies' game, they don't just have your beer. Like if I say this in a hushed voice, they actually have glasses of Pinot Grigio. Oh yes, watching the game, you see. And also the other thing to mention about the Dripping Pad is we mentioned children, didn't we? Children get in free at the Dripping Pad, so that's pretty splendid, one way or another. People get in free. The curious people staring through the window. What are those two 80-year-olds doing?
Well, they're rather pretty girls, so I waved at them.
Now, behave yourself. I think.
But the point about that is, I was going to say, Lewis, get behind your ladies' football team.
Yes.
Because they have achieved good things. And John is right. Football is like that, and at the moment they're there.
Yeah.
But with good support and the innovations that you're putting out, there's no reason why they can't stop.
No, I agree with that.
And that in a game which is awash with money and people can buy their way out, I still believe that a good team can succeed.
Well, the other thing about the Dripping Pad is we talk about the South Downs and the rest of it. There is no more beautiful at a football ground than the Dripping Pad. It's absolutely lovely. And if you get fed up with the football, you can just simply look at the surrounding countryside. Yeah. And the other thing is, of course, all the birds that are there, the rooks, they're called the rooks, and they're all at the game, especially because of the pies and the chips that are there. But the rooks are all there, so it's a very local club. The only thing, I'll tell you what, you really should try and get the lady. She's a very, very good PR lady. I think her name is Karen Dobrez.
Oh, yes.
She would be wonderful here. Invite her along one day, because she would be a very good guest. And she could explain what goes on. That'd be good. And I've got to go because I've got various bits and pieces here. So happy birthday, everybody. Final.
This is a communication from Darling.
Enough of that. All the rubbish I bring in here. Well, Keith.
John, no, before you go, remind us again of the date in August of the big event.
Fingers crossed, my friends. It's August the 11th. It's a Sunday, and we keep our fingers crossed. Well, I say that because every event today.
Yes. And what is it exactly?
Sorry?
What is it? What's the event?
It's the Max Miller Celebrity Garden Party. And if you're a celebrity out there, by the way, Kid Jensen maybe, or maybe Joe Wiley, why not come down there? Start about 2:00. Lovely sandwiches. It shouldn't be raining, and if it is, we will probably put our gazebo up. And when we put our gazebo up, madam, run. That's all I can say. They always, they've got the gazebo up again. You can't have it. Excuse me, sir, it is an offence to put up your gazebo. Sorry, officer, I didn't realise that. But that is what we call a crime intense gazebo.
You might, if you go, you talk about celebrities. I said to John, I think we should televise this, John. And he said, we can't because I will be serving champagne. So if you go, it won't be televised. You can't watch it on Mirador, but you might have John Henty serving you champagne while you're eating your cucumber sandwiches.
How about that? And flooding the floor at the same time.
And that's the 10th?
Yes.
The 10th. The 10th of August.
No, the 11th, I think it is. 11th. One day. Don't go on the 10th. You might be a bit disappointed.
Oh, dear.
The 11th. 11th of August. He's everywhere. Oh dear. Well, this is CinemaScope now, madam. Yes, wide screen for wide people. Thank you, chaps.
Toodle pip, John.
Toodle pip, my good friend. Bye.
Bye. Well, as always, it's 2 entertaining half hours, I think. Philip Meredith gave us a really very, very good and graphic description of Arundel, which in many ways, a lot of these places are just names. Arundel, yeah, I'd say it's an interesting place. But we got the full Monty this morning from Philip, and fascinating it was. And then, of course, we never quite know what John Henty is going to talk about, but as usual, whatever triggered his memories, the memories were well worthwhile catching up with. So, thank you for being with us. What is the time? Ooh, it's 10 to 11. It is 10 to 11. 10 to 11, and all is well. If you haven't voted, it's not. Get out there. Right? Yes. It's time to get your bottom off the seat and into gear. So let's say until tomorrow morning, toodle pip. And tomorrow we should have the full Monty. We should have Harry from Normandy. We should have Melissa from New York. We should have Mark from Stoke-on-Trent. And well, I should be lurking somewhere in the background. So do join us and see what it is that we're talking about tomorrow. That's Mirador television, and we are able to bring you stuff that no other television station anywhere in the world could bring you. We are unique, and we are based in the Black Horse pub, which in itself is a unique television studio. The Black Horse, where you can get decent food, decent company, decent drink, and you can watch the Euros in comfort and with like-minded people. Till tomorrow, toodle pip.